Hi, my name's Johnny Kyunghwo and I'm a food and fermentation content creator based out of South Korea. And in this video, I'm going to show you my top 10 tips and tools for fermenting. Probably the most important thing for fermenting, and it's going to be an ingredient you use in a lot of things, is salt. So it's important to get a good quality salt. I use Korean sea salt, which is pretty standard in Korea. If anything, this is the easiest type of salt to find, but kosher salt or rock salt also work. The only thing you want to avoid is table salt or iodized salt, because iodized salt actually prevents bacterial growth. What I recommend is just finding a big bag of sea salt. It's really cheap, and then using that for basically all your ferments. So number 2 is all about staying clean. So I like to use either medical grade rubbing alcohol or this no rinse brewing sanitizer. So this bottle is filled with no rinse brewing sanitizer, which is sort of like the go-to for when you're doing home brewing, beer, wine, that kind of stuff. It looks like this usually, and this is like a concentrate. I think I bought this maybe 3 years ago. With the amount of fermenting that I do on all my channels, you probably think I would go through a lot of these, but in 3 years, I've only gone through not even half. So to make one spray bottle like this, which will last me a week or two, only takes about 1 or 2 milliliters of this stuff. And once you've sprayed down your bottles, you don't even need to rinse it out. You can just let it drip dry or just shake it out a bit, and then you can add your ferment straight to it. It doesn't affect it, doesn't leave any taste, and if anything, it actually acts as a little bit of food for that fermentation as well, so it's actually good. The next thing that I really think everyone should have is a nice pack of elastic bands. Right now, I just have one size, but I do recommend getting like different sizes as well. So you're gonna be using elastic bands for a lot of things. And to go along with those elastic bands, the other thing is this stuff, which is heavy duty kitchen towel. This is the stuff that really like you can wring dry as well, you can reuse it. But the reason I like to use it is because it makes the perfect cover for some of these jars as well. So you put this over a jar, put an elastic band around it. It's got a tight enough weave that bugs can't get in and dust won't get in, but it will let air travel through. I always recommend to get the square sheets instead of the very rectangular ones, because you can fit these on quite a big hole with these square sheets. Something that I always make sure to have a lot of are these easy peel, waterproof stickers. So these are actually advertised for kitchen use, and I pair them with just a nice permanent marker. So I can write on here, stick them onto jars and anything, and then once I'm done with that jar, or I need to clean it off, I can peel these off really easily. They don't leave any residue at all. Like I said, waterproof too, so they don't smudge. So this next one is a trick, and I call this the elastic band trick, because when you have a flip top jar like this, obviously with a flip top jar, you've got the usual way of closing it, like that. And that's a nice airtight seal, which won't really let gas escape, but sometimes you do need to let gas escape, so here's what you can do. We're not gonna clip this at all. Instead, we've got an elastic band underneath, and we'll pull that as tight as I can, twist it, bring it back down, bring it up again, twist it again, and then bring it back over again, that. Now what we've got is technically an airtight jar, but it's not clamped down so strong that gas can't escape. So with just a little bit of pull, you can pull this up and it just lets that little bit of gas escape. So you're not left with a little glass bomb, even though these jars don't really explode. But it's just a little safety trick for people who forget to burp their jars every day. I know I do, which is why I just do this and then just kind of forget about them. You're probably wondering how this fits into fermenting. And it's not so much about the drill, it's more about what's attached to the drill, and this is a step drill bit. I buy these containers, which for me, I like the shape, I like the size. The only problem is most of the time the lids don't have any holes in them. And I need a lid with a hole in it in order to fit an airlock. This is an airlock. Most of these containers, I've made the hole for the airlock using this drill bit. You can see those numbers on there, those correspond to the size of the hole that you can make. But usually I only ever go about halfway. So that's big enough to fit one of these. It's called a grommet. And that's gonna help create an airtight seal for your airlock. And the airlock is gonna let gas escape from your fermentation vessel, but it won't let gas in, which means you won't get any contamination. Next up, I'm gonna talk about pressure safe bottles, because if you're going to be making sodas or kombuchas or beers, you're going to end up bottle carbonating. And if you're going to bottle carbonate, you want bottles that are safe to use. So here I've got 3 types of pressure safe bottles. This is a classic flip top bottle. A lot of you have probably seen these. A lot of the ones that you've probably seen aren't safe. This one is safe because I buy these from a specific company that makes these specifically for carbonating. So this is made by an Italian, I think they're Italian. It's a company called Bormioli. So Bormioli have 2 types of this kind of bottle. One of them is square and one of them is round. The square ones are not pressure safe. On a square, anywhere there's an edge or a corner, that's a weak point, which is why you see tankers and gas bottles are always round. The second one is just plastic. I buy these brand new without any soda in them. And these are marketed as pressure safe because you can tell from the bottom, they've got this shape, this classic bottle shape with the legs. If it doesn't have this sort of shape on the bottom, it's not pressure safe. And then on top of that, the cap on the top is going to be a lot more airtight than regular bottles. So I have an example here of carbonating with a plastic bottle. As you can see, this has nothing in it. So if I filled this up with fresh liquid, this would still be this squishy. But this has bottle carbonated in a plastic, and as you can see, I'm pushing that a lot harder, and there's very little give. And I know for a fact that is very, very carbonated in there. Plastic will just basically balloon up and stretch. And if it does explode, you won't get glass shrapnel everywhere. Instead, you'll just get sort of like plastic, which might hurt a bit, but it's way less dangerous. The final one that I use is just a beer bottle. And this is an old Korean beer bottle, which I've just taken the label off of. In fact, my mom runs a restaurant. She has hundreds of these. So whenever I need them, I just go there and I steal some bottles. But if you're gonna go the route of using these used beer bottles, so you're gonna need a capper, and this is a capper here, and these are caps. This is what a cap looks like before you cap it. So it's all splayed out like that. And once you've put your liquid in, you put your cap on top, get your capper, put that on top. You can squeeze down like that. And then that's your sealed bottle there. And that will be airtight. I actually find that these bottle caps tend to hold pressure, but they give out before these ones do, as in they'll just leak gas if you just slightly knock it. Whereas these ones will hold a lot more pressure, which becomes a bit more dangerous, especially when you pop this open and everything comes flying out. So sometimes I do just prefer to use these because they are just a little bit safer. Now this stuff is super cheap, but this could save you from getting sick. So this is pH paper, and this is used to test the acidity and alkalinity of whatever you're fermenting. So you do want to check if something's acidic, because if it is below roughly about 4, pH 4, then it's usually safe to consume. So to use pH paper, of course, you just rip off one of these tabs, dip it in whatever you want to test, and then you just compare the color of the paper with these colors here. And this should tell you roughly what the pH is. If you want to be more exact, you can get electronic pH meters, which I don't like to use because you need to calibrate them all the time, but these don't need calibrating at all, and really, really cheap.
It's like the check.
I think you can kind of see it's going a bit more red at the bottom here, which is lining up more with like 3, 4. So this thingamabobber here is called a hydrometer, and what this tells me is how much sugar is inside of a liquid. And I would like to know how much sugar is inside of a liquid because I want to know how much alcohol I'm going to make whenever I'm homebrewing. While I'm making beer, if I want to see how much ABV I could potentially get out of the beer, I'll fill this up with my beer and then drop this in. And depending on where this floats, so it could be down here, which means no sugar at all. If it's floating up here, then it's going to have a ton of sugar as well. On here, it has these colored markings, which kind of refer to different types of alcohol. This orange section here is beer. This green section is wine, and then this blue section down here is dessert wine. This is pretty important for homebrewing because you're going to test before you ferment and you're going to test after you ferment. Before you ferment, when it's full of sugar, that's going to tell you how much potentially you can get. And then once you're done fermenting, you test it again to see how much sugar is left. And then you can do some calculations, and then you can find out exactly how much alcohol is in your beverage. So these are crucial if you want to get into home fermenting, and they're not expensive at all. So my most used thing, and you can kind of tell it looks pretty well used, is my digital scale. And it's pretty self-explanatory. It weighs things, which is important when you're fermenting, because if you're working with percentages or amounts or mass, you want to know how much is going into things. I ideally would like to have 3 different scales. One for milligrams and grams, one that goes from 1 to 5 kilos, and then one that does 5 kilos and up. The only thing is 5 kilos and up are quite expensive, so I don't have one yet. And this one here does me pretty well, down to about 1 to 2 grams, although it doesn't have decimal points. But I've been using this for about 6 or 7 years now. I bought this in England before I started doing all my videos, and I brought this to Korea with me, and I still use it in pretty much all my videos that I film here in my studio. That was my top 10 tips and tools for fermenting. If you feel like I left something out, or if there's something that you think is essential for fermenting, make sure you leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit like. If you want to see more, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. So you can also check out my Instagram and TikTok videos, links in the description, where I use a lot of these things, so you can see how I really do use them in real life. But yeah, until the next video, see ya. And once you've put your liquid in, you put, take 2.